Amepiga risasi kwa kichwa.
Tuesday ni Tuesday. Welcome back to Turning the Mirror podcast. This is where we bring you the reflection of politics and governance across our country, Kenya. This is Worth Kaboko together with my co-host Olengo Kwach. And we've seen everything that has gone around town today, Nairobi city. And we saw goons deployed in the capital city. They were having so big rungus. And they were beating those who were protesting. And the police also were in support of the goons. We saw them even giving them escort in different areas within the town. And police were just against the protesters, not the goons. And we were wondering what really transpired and what's really happening in Kenya today with the police brutality. And just few days we've been talking and speaking, and we're calling for the police for justice for Ojwang, Albert Ojwang, and again we've seen Eli. And what do you think is really happening with our police system?
You see, first of all, I want to believe that for you to see the police escorting a group of people who are carrying weapons.
Yeah.
Because remember, as per the constitution, what the young people are doing today in the Kenya's capital is what is called a peaceful protest.
Yeah.
And a peaceful protest, you can never carry a weapon with you. And therefore, in any point or at any given point when you are spotted by the law enforcers carrying a weapon, then they'll automatically come to you, they'll arrest you, and then you'll be arraigned in court.
Yeah.
But then, for you to see a law enforcer escorting a group which is carrying weapons, in this case rungus, others even had nyaunyos, and then nothing is done. They escort them to wherever positions they're supposed to reach.
Yeah.
And then they are not arrested. The police is not even making a statement about that. That tells you that to some level, the police must have known where these goons came from, who ordered them to go to town, and actually the business that took them to town.
And who is this person who ordered these goons or who paid these goons to be in town? I've seen people speak about Sakaja.
Okay, people have been speaking about Sakaja. We don't really have, personally, I don't really have enough evidence to say or speak courageously to say that it is Sakaja. But then what I am sure of is that whoever sent the goons to town is somebody who is affiliated or in a very good relationship with the government of the day. Because remember, these protests are against the police and against the government of the day. Therefore, you hear Lagat must go, Ruto must go, end police brutality, and Ruto to be directly answerable to the ongoings within the police force, within the country, and all the excesses of the government. And therefore, you remember, during last year's protests, Ruto said that goons infiltrated peaceful protests, and that a goon took a firearm from a police, snatched a firearm from a police, and then started shooting into the public. And it is for that reason, in other words, goons infiltrating a peaceful protest, that he ordered for the KDF to join the police and support the police in ensuring that the country remained calm. But then, today or last week, we saw peaceful protesters. And nobody, among them, there were only phones, handkerchief, others flag, others water, and others even Colgates. No weapon. So how are you going to actually convince people that the police killed people and therefore try to brand those who are killed as criminals if at all there is nobody in the name of a goon within that space?
It's so sad because we really saw the police walking alongside the goons, people who were carrying the goons.
Yes, so the person who ordered these people to town, main reason is to ensure that these people counters the protests. The protest gets messy because, as you could see, these people, one, they were trying to disrupt the peaceful protests, caning and beating those who are protesting peacefully.
That's true.
Number two, they were snatching phones, snatching properties, and actually robbing the public.
There's
even those who are not,
even
those who are not part of the protests, those who are just moving, they are from their business, going to do their own things, or even going back home. They were being robbed, beaten up
so badly,
and therefore, for these kind of disruptions, and maybe having the same people still or rob different businesses, maybe that would have warranted now the government or whoever was in charge of this group to speak up and say the police killed or the police did this and this because goons infiltrated peaceful protesters. And therefore, we had these goons come in so that at the end of the day, we could say that the goons were within the space and therefore those who lost their lives were goons or they lost their lives as a result of the doings of the goons. Or if the police killed, then the police killed because these people, either they were goons and therefore they were disrupting protests or causing mayhem. Yes.
And this is so sad because recently, just Albert Ojwang was killed in a police cell.
Yes.
And there is a lot of information that is being unveiled right now.
We cannot really say a police cell because if the CCTV within the Bagathi hospital speaks of Ojwang being brought to the premises at around 1:35, right? Already dead. And then the police report of the OB has this same man registered within the police cells or the police premises, registered under the OB some minutes past the time when he was being brought to the hospital. But that means maybe he would have died either in the police cell or somewhere in between when he was leaving Nyanza and then Nairobi, because those were several hours. Whatever was going on in between, because we also have other people speaking of torture in around Karura Forest. Yes.
But the fact remains that he was in the hands of the police, and it's raising a lot of alarm.
Yes.
And that is the fuel that has made people to go to the streets.
Yes.
And that is the main reason they're out there in the streets.
Yes.
And again, a fact, and we've seen very clearly somebody who was in his business selling masks to the protesters was beaten by the police, beaten up, and again shot in the head. And the police was not even concerned, did nothing, never calling an ambulance, and just walking away. So this is something so sad. What does it mean to us?
The two men who attacked this guy, the guy is called Eli Joshua.
Yeah, Eli Joshua.
The two police officers, or the two men in uniform who attacked him, one was masked, the other was not. So the one who was masked, if you look at the speed at which he ran towards Eli Joshua, you could automatically say he was there to kill.
Yeah, that's true.
His main intent was to kill. And then because even after this, the slight confrontation, when now Eli Joshua was leaving, he still shot a guy who is unarmed. And you could clearly see the guy who was not masked. At some point, he was even shocked.
Yeah, that's true.
He was even shocked. He wondered what this other guy was doing. So reading at this, I could possibly tell that to some extent, maybe this guy was not a police officer. The one who shot. Maybe he was not a police officer.
But he was in the uniform.
Then he was in the uniform. So if at all he was not a police officer, then he was brought to this group of police officers by somebody who is very powerful. That is very possible. And then he was still under the command and control of the police officer. But then if he was a police officer, then you could wonder, because even at a time when you can see a colleague police officer or colleague police officers going through a lot because of a death of a citizen, you could still openly on a broad daylight in front of people with cameras and phones, CCTVs, still shoot a protester. Or rather somebody who is just in their business.
You know, just before the police headed towards Eli Joshua, I could see him standing next to the wall, just thinking and then just being convinced. All of a sudden, then let me rush to this guy, then beat him up, then shoot.
I'm not sure what actually happened before that, because then we are seeing just short clips. Maybe those who are there can tell.
Yeah, that's true.
But then you could see that in front of Joshua, there was a guy who was trying to say, we are peaceful, we are peaceful. Just in front of him. But then a good group was behind. So maybe around the area where Joshua was standing, maybe people are being dispersed. And then, you know, at times you can be confused, or having known that anyway you are not doing anything wrong, you'd still remain there standing. And therefore maybe the police could have translated this to a point. Maybe this guy is trying to show us he doesn't care. or something like that.
But there were so many people who were making noise, some were running up and down.
And even recording.
And even recording. And again, the fact that, this guy, we had seen him in several videos before, selling masks.
Yes.
Yeah, so was one guy who you could not say that he was even involved in doing the protest, was just doing the business.
Was not even carrying any weapon.
In fact, he was carrying the masks, even at that time. The time he fell down, the masks were there with him.
Yeah.
So we really wonder that what was the interest of that police officer. So it means there could be even the person who was sponsoring the goons was also in the interest of killing somebody or something like that.
One, bring goons. Let the goons disperse the group which is protesting. Try to give a message out there that Ruto, or a picture, that Ruto is also our guy, because that is what they were saying. Ruto is also our guy. And that we will not allow protests to go on. Then maybe kill one, scare the others, so that next time they don't turn up or turn out for the protests.
You know, even the politics, even of Nairobi county itself. We've seen even other MPs speaking on online spaces when these things are happening and these occurrences are being seen in the online, in the media spaces. They're speaking about Ruto, tano, tena, and kumi
we
bila
even
break.
saw the MCA Robert Alai post kumi bila break.
And even the politicians that we have, few of them have even condemned what has happened. So we are really wondering, in what state is our politics?
You know, it's like most of these people are either scared that they are going back home and therefore are trying to either create a narrative or trying to make themselves survive within this space, or they are trying to look good to the president so that they can eat or eat well before everything turns sour. Because remember, majority of them might have read the situation, read the ground, and just know that in 2027, they are not going to get this position back. And therefore, they are trying to just be good or be nice to the president so that whatever is there to be eaten right now be shared amongst them, so that at the time they are going home, at least they have something in the pocket. That is something I can say. Again, there are other politicians who are also using this to also market themselves and portray themselves as saints. That is also there.
Oh, and just that people, the current government, the Kenya Kwanza government, is so unpopular to the people of Kenya. What do you really think this one means to the government, the Kenya Kwanza government? Is it that will they really get another term, or will they even finish the one term that they really have? With the outrage, the fury that the people of Kenya have?
You see, the truth is that William Ruto made it to be the president against the wish of the then sitting president and even the majority of Kenyans. And it is open out there because even the evidences that were brought to the Supreme Court, even if you are not a judge, you could automatically read and tell that this guy, there was some game that was involved. And he was out of the government. Right now, he is the president, controlling and coordinating everything. So Kenyans might vote against him, yes, but he'll try whatever humanly possible, by whatever means necessary, to ensure that he remains in power. There are two things which are possible. If Kenyans turn out completely against him, like what happened in 2002, when Kenyans turned out against the Moi because people were just they were tired of Moi and therefore they were voting to get rid of Moi, then it might just work, because then it would be so humiliating and the number would be so big for him to even try stealing. Number two, if all the opposition figures, all the opposition figures, both bad and good, unite. Because remember, Kenyan politics is still tribal. Of course, there's that wing of Gen Z, millennials, the young group, which are trying to portray themselves out there as people are tribeless. But if all these people unite, then you are sure you'll get votes of both the old and the young voting for this group against Ruto. That is possible. But if we have another group of old politicians, a group of maybe non-starters, and then we have Ruto on the other end, we will have votes split, and we'll give Ruto easy room for him to steal votes. Because I can tell you as a fact, he cannot win on a fair, free and transparent elections. Maybe if he steals or tries to play around with some numbers. Recently, Remember, last year, the likes of Oscar Sudi, they said that they can even cook numbers. But then recently we had Ruto himself say he cannot hand over power to people who people who don't have plan. So in short, maybe he has seen it, he's going to lose, but he's not ready to give power or to hand over power.
But that is interesting. You've made interesting statements, like, for example, you said the good and bad opposition leaders, they come together, and that will also raise the question that then we shall have not found a solution as a people. And I know we'll also engage in such a conversation to know what's really the way forward for the people of Kenya.
There's something that has also been going around that somebody is trying to use the police or the killings that are going on within the police force to try and sabotage the government. And most fingers within the government or the bloggers of the government are trying to point fingers at the opposition, more so regarding Gachagua. You know, this is something that personally I'd say and wonder how powerful then can Gachagua be. So powerful that even the government cannot actually think or even know what he plans to do. He's so powerful that if he's even controlling the police force, then Gachagua must be a very powerful man.
Okay, interesting. Thank you to those who are having the opportunity to view this video. Share your thoughts in the comment section, and sure you subscribe to DMP Kenya, and welcome each and every time. Keep visiting. This is home. Thank you.